like every team in the country, we're excited. We're 9 months since January of working. For me, just my standpoint going the year, crazy excited about this team. I like our talent level. Obviously, you always wish you had more talent at certain spots, but I like our talent level. I love our kids. I love their approach. I love what they've done for the last 9 months preparing. I love the coaching staff and how they've prepared. I think our kids are really excited to play football. I would say our team has spent as much time not in the 20 hours and 8 hours working on football as any team in the country. It's just, even this weekend, we gave them Friday, Saturday off, and I'm here on Friday, Saturday getting ready for Marshall, and we got kids in there working out. And I'm telling them to get the heck out of there, And they're like, we're just trying to get loose. We're just trying to get, and so you go through a grind of fall camp, you give them Friday, Saturday off, and both Friday there's a handful of kids, and Saturdays there's a handful of kids in there doing football on their days off right before the season. So makes you feel good as a head coach. Obviously, opponent Marshall, there's all different ways to start the season. There's good and bad to everything. You can start with a little lesser opponent, and there's good and bad in that. There's some good in having a lesser opponent that maybe you can ease into the season a little bit more, and there's some benefits to that. I think there's also benefits to line up with Marshall. We'll have one of the better week one contests around when it talks about an even matchup and two talented teams that got a chance to have pretty good seasons. Obviously, they got a ton of experience back. They had a ton of success a year ago. Other than losing their quarterback, they pretty much have everyone else back. They got starters back that are backups now because they have so many kids back. Obviously, crazy athletic. Doc does an unbelievable job. They got new coordinators. The defense coordinator's from within, so how much changes are going to be over there? I don't know. He's from within. The offense coordinator's from Sam Houston State, who was also at Utah and was also at Montana State. This is his 4th job in 4 years. So what we're going to get, Marshall was really good on offense for the last 3 years, so how much are they going to change? How much are they going to do new stuff? We have really no idea. So you add that element to the first game, too, and then some, obviously talented players on both sides of the ball. So exciting about this opener. We're not easing into the season, obviously. You got Marshall right away. You got a really good history with Marshall and Miami of competitive football for, dating back years and years. So you got to, it's not a rivalry like OU and Cincinnati, but there is a Miami-Marshall rivalry to add to it. So pretty exciting opening game. You look at the opening week schedule and you see a lot of games that you're like, it's going to be pretty one-sided, and that's a good scrimmage, and obviously that's not the case for us. So we're excited to play some real football right out of the chute and get after a really good team and kind of get the checks and balances of we'll know a lot more about kind of where our strengths and weaknesses are early in the year by playing this opponent.
When you're in a situation like you're facing a team in the opener, and they have a new offensive coordinator, do you go back and look where he's coached previously to try to get a sense of what you might see on Saturday?
Montana State, Nevada, Sam Houston State, Marshall stuff from last year. Yeah, we're looking at, and the thing is, Montana State was different than Nevada. Nevada was different than Sam Houston. Sam Houston was certainly different than what Marshall was doing. He's had successes all along the line. So yeah, no, we've for months, we're kind of spinning in circles at this point. Like we've looked at everything, but there's no conclusions to be drawn because you really have no idea, what's the situation and, what they're actually going to do. We do watch a lot of their personnel. We know they got crazy talented personnel on both sides of the ball. They got a defensive tackle that's ranked one of the best defensive linemen in the country, the B kid, as a senior, talking about a high draftable kid. They've got 2 other returning starters on the D-line that are good run stoppers. You got the quarterback. They got a couple of returning starters at back or 3 returning starters secondary. They're fast. They get after you. They fly around. They create turnovers. They're a high-contact team. Anybody who watched a game last year knows we'll be sore on Sunday. It's going to be a high-contact game, right off the bat. So, and then offensively with their receivers and their running backs and their O-line and really everybody back but their quarterback and their tight end and really talented kids. The Johnson, the Brady kid, and the Davis kid is a great tailback who had the kickoff, but he's a great tailback, and his backup's a great player too. They shared time as the year went on last year, so they got a potent. And then, everything you read, they're going crazy, warp speed, up tempo. You add that in, so we don't really know what formation's in place, but we know it's going to be really fast, so we're not going to have time to figure it out. So it'll be a really, really nice challenge for our team, OD and special teams, right off the chute.
Looking at the depth chart, there's 6 co-starters at defensive cornerback. Obviously, that's been a big place, having to replace Heath Harding. Talk about how you feel about your depth and just how confident are you in Junior and Brad Koenig to be able to be the mainstays of those 2 linebackers?
Yeah, no, the depth in the center, obviously, let's start. Find a place for Heath. That's been a crazy great battle, and it's no one has totally separated themselves, which I think you prefer that somebody would. Some respects, you're excited that a lot of guys are doing some good things and hanging around. Some ways you're not as excited that no one's really taken and seized the job. So I think you're going to see multiple guys play in replace of Heath. Junior and Koenig inside, obviously tons of experience, tons of success. Really have done an unbelievable job of leadership the last 9 months for both of them. That was kind of taking their game to the next level. Not that they didn't need to get physically better and mentally better, but really a big part for their junior, senior seasons when they were looking at their growth as a player, it was the leadership, and not that they were bad leaders, but when you're a sophomore, you're not really expected to be a leader. Then junior year, you become a little bit of a leader, and then it's expected as your senior year, and they've taken that both to heart as far as accountability and communication and the leadership of not just the defense, but being part of that senior leadership group for the whole team. And they've really, really done a nice job up till 9 weeks, as we've been telling all the kids and all the seniors and all the leaders. When the first starts to fly at Marshall, we'll figure out what kind of, it's great to be leaders in the offseason when it's kumbaya and we lift hard and we practice hard and you can find a pod. When Marshall comes to town, they start punching you right in the mouth and it's in the middle of the game, then what kind of leadership? So we're excited about that experience and the growth, and then we're going to see it on display on Saturday.
How have you gone about motivating this specific team? Has it been any different than maybe you went about preparing for last season? Just talk about how you've gone about that.
I think every year is different because you have different personalities and you have different leadership groups within the team. For us, we try to stay consistent. We're not a theme of the year. We're not a gimmick team. We're not a flavor of the week. We try to be very consistent. One of the things that I was most disappointed in a year ago was that we weren't very consistent. We weren't very consistent with a lot. The difference between our ceiling and our floor last year was too high. Especially for a team that had some success and had some experience. And we played some really good football. We played some average football, and then we played some bad football. And the goal this year is to play some really good football and play some average football, because no one's going to play really good football all the time. It just never happens. But to be the floor, be lower, or not be as low as it was at times a year ago, and that comes with the mindset of the preparation and then the leadership of the group and what their goals are. So I think some of the lessons you can learn as you go through successes and failures, which we've had the last 2 years, we can carry those forward and get us through some of the tougher times within games and within the season.
Last year at Marshall was kind of a little bit of a letdown, disappointing game, but they have a lot of experience back. You have a lot of experience back. Now that both teams, or a lot of players on both teams, have seen each other, do you think that adds anything to this rivalry now that you maybe have to adapt or make sure they don't have you completely figured out?
Yeah, I think with, obviously, from our end, with their new coordinators, there's going to be a lot of adapting in the first quarter once we figure out what the heck they're trying to do to defend us and attack us. Obviously, you play a really close, hard-fought game a year ago. Anybody that watched that game knows it was a one-score game, and it should have been a one-score game. It wasn't like either team, if you watch the game, we both had nice players on the field playing their tails off. So I think you expect kind of more of the same this year, that it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to somebody making one more play than the other team. I don't think either team is considering like, hey, this is going to be an easy laugher in our opener. It's going to be a blowout. So I think just the fact that we played last year was such a hard-fought game, and a lot of the same kids are going to be playing each other again. I think they know what they're getting themselves into, and I think it sets up for a really nice matchup.
And then, as far as I've seen, Marshall hasn't named a starting quarterback yet. Do you know who you're facing? And if not, how are you preparing for either one of those guys?
We don't know. Obviously, we're trying to read everything we can. And, they lost their, the kid went to the draft, who was a really nice player for him. They got a transfer in that seemed like in the offseason was kind of the guy that was going to be the guy. But I know they've got a freshman from Georgia who we recruited, and we know Noah very well, big, strong, athletic, NFL arm strength player, so hasn't played, but We know him from high school. He's a really talented kid. And then, you know, the one transfer kid sounds like he's been hurt and nicked up during camp, so he hasn't been there the whole time, which, again, so they may not even know who they're starting yet. Who knows? They might still be decided. So you add that to where we don't even know what the heck they're going to do on offense. So I'm not – if I knew what they're doing on offense, I'd probably be more concerned with who is starting. The fact that I have no idea what they're going to do on offense, I'm probably less concerned with who's the starter. I kind of like to know what kind of plays they're going to run. So it would be kind of disconcerting to me, but since we don't – I'm more worried about other things right now than who's going to be the trigger guy.
Obviously, last year against Marshall, special teams cost you. How confident are you going into this game about your special teams?
Again, every year is different. Special teams typically aren't as good early in the year as they are later in the year. Some of it's personnel, some of it's just getting settled in. We got to obviously do a better job out of the chute. That's, you know, the one area that you wish, like, if you had a lesser opponent out of the chute, maybe it wouldn't have been as costly, you know. But you play a team with dynamic athletes like Marshall, you better be on point in every facet of the game, OD and special teams, and we certainly weren't on point early in that game. With them getting a couple big kickoff returns. So we know they're dangerous back there. You know, I got asked earlier today just about, you know, our kickoff coverage and adjustments we're going to make for this game. And I'm like, well, we made adjustments the last 11 weeks. Our kickoff coverage team ended up being pretty darn good last year. It just wasn't good in the opener. It was atrocious in the opener. It was very costly in the opener. So, so hopefully we do a good job kicking the ball, and hopefully we do a good job with our either kicking out of the end zone or getting it up and giving us hang time to let our guys go down. We didn't kick the ball well, and then obviously we are atrocious coverage in that game. So we've been much better. I have confidence that our kickoff coverage team can run down and get off blocks and make plays and get guys on the ground. So, but it's a concern like anything else. There's a lot of special teams blunders throughout the season, but it always seems like there's some major ones early in the year, and we lived it last year.
Obviously, adding Malzone to your roster this offseason, has that added an extra sense of competition, especially within the quarterback room and the offense in general?
Yeah, there has been. Again, anytime you add a quality player, you're going to increase competition. Obviously, Gus is a starter in our mind, and he's had a great camp. And Malzone's really done a good job in a short period of time. I think if he would have came in January, there would have been a little more of a competition factor because he'd had time to go through spring practice, and really the fact that he got here this summer and you can't really practice in the summer, and then you start in fall camp and you got a guy with going into his fifth year and you got a guy that's been here for 10 seconds. So, but certainly competition in the room and on the offense. But Malzone's added, he's very professional. He's got good experience. He's very confident. So he's added to that room just that way. He's added to our team that way. He just has a really professional approach, and he's really excited to be here, and he's excited to be getting reps because he didn't get a lot of reps the last couple of years. So just him going out and practice, even a bad practice right now, he enjoys because he's out there practicing and living it, and he knows he has ability, and he's trying to get back to being a really good quarterback. And it's hard to do that when you're not on the field. And so he's really relishing the fact that, hey, he's in the mix and he's preparing. He's got a chance maybe to go in the game this Saturday based on who knows how the flow of the game goes, and he's excited that he hasn't felt that for a while. So he's brought a lot. It's been fun to add him to our roster.
Absolutely. At the receiver position, looks like Sorensen is getting the start over Mo Thomas. Obviously, both of those guys didn't get a ton of reps last year. What has Sorensen done to boost him over Mo Thomas? And how excited are you to have Mo back and around?
Start with Mo. Crazy excited Mo back. Mo's crazy weapon for us. He was fixing to have a big-time year for us. He was having a tremendous game against UC and gets hurt, and obviously we lose him for the last 9 games a year, and he's one of our biggest weapons on offense. Mo's a tailback, all right, that will get tailback carries. He's a phenomenal tailback. He's a return weapon. He's also a weapon at receiver that we can flank out and play at any of the receiver positions. He's really went from a high school tailback and turned himself into just an explosive playmaker at Miami. Biggest thing with him is keeping him healthy. Last couple of years we haven't been able to keep him healthy. If Mo's healthy, he's going to be a major part of what we're doing this year. Obviously, if he's not healthy, we can't get him the ball when he's not healthy. Sorensen's had a really nice spring and fall. He's a young player that going into his redshirt sophomore. He's got 3 years left. We thought was going to be a really nice player for us. and he's had a kind of a natural progression of he redshirted the first year, then his second year as a redshirt freshman. You know, he was very inconsistent, did some good things. You could see the signs, but he wasn't ready for primetime action. Then this offseason, he's really in spring ball, he's been a really good player. Very versatile. He's not really competing against Mo. They're different players. They will play the same spot at times. Mo kind of plays all over the place. But Jack's going to be a key contributor. He can run, he can catch, he can block, he can do a lot of different, and he's willing to do some dirty jobs for you. He's willing to do the tough jobs that some receivers don't like to do. So we're excited about, Jack's kind of coming out part of this year and becoming part of our success.